Hello everyone, this is my book report presentation on the book Flourish, A Visionary New Understanding of Happiness and Well-Being by Martin E.P. Seligman. This book was a wonderful book, but before I get into that, let's talk about the author. Now, who is Martin E.P. Seligman? Well, this is him up in the corner. He received his bachelor's degree in philosophy from Princeton University. However, after receiving this degree, he didn't feel like it accomplished enough. It mainly set him on a goal to solve puzzles, essentially, but he wanted to solve real-world problems, which is why he then later received a PhD in psychology from the University of Pennsylvania. Now, in his career, he is currently the director of the Positive Psychology Center at the University of Pennsylvania. He is a psychology professor at that same university. And throughout his career, in 1998, he was the president of the American Psychological Association. He researched learned helplessness, optimism, and positive psychology, just as some very popular articles that he released, but he has done much more research besides those three. He also created the Masters of Applied Positive Psychology program at the university he teaches at. And this was a huge moment in the positive psychology movement because it was the first time when a positive psychology degree was something that graduate students could actually earn. Essentially, it made so that people could research positive psychology in a professional way. Now, an overview of the book. The book discusses the development of positive psychology in its entirety. Essentially, it goes through every aspect of positive psychology's history, starting from his original theory, which was authentic happiness theory, and it goes to his new theory, which is well-being theory. The difference between the two is that in authentic happiness theory, he argued that the main goal of human beings was to be as happy as they can be. However, in his new theory, he realizes that happiness isn't enough to cut it, and that humans are more likely pursuing flourishing, which he defines as PERMA. Essentially, he defines it as positive emotions, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishments. And this book discusses all of that, how he came up with that theory, and how it has developed into what it is now. It also examines how positive psychology can be implemented in the military, in schools, and in the workplace to improve well-being. In this book, he talks about how they're currently using the military to research positive psychology and make so that soldiers are more resilient and so that they have better happiness and well-being while they're serving our country. He also talks about positive education, which is the idea that school curriculums can be enhanced by adding elements of positive psychology. He also talks about how it's important to maintain a 3-to-1 ratio of positive experiences and negative experiences in the workplace to keep employees productive and happy. In addition, throughout the book, there are various happiness activities that you can see. I found many of these to be useful, which I'll talk about in a later slide. He also discusses replacing GDP with measures of well-being, and he discusses the future of positive psychology. Instead of using GDP to measure how well a nation is doing, he talks about using GDH, or global domestic happiness. So instead of using money as the metric, he decides to use well-being or happiness as a metric to see how well a nation is doing. And this goes into his goal for positive psychology, which is that by 2051, he wants 51% of the entire population of the Earth to be flourishing. He wants them to have enhanced their well-being to the point where they have positive emotions, meaningful engagement, relationships that are positive, meaning in their lives, and accomplishments that make them happy. Now, how the book has inspired me. This book has actually been very enlightening for me to read. Since I've read it, I've been inspired to be more conscious of the elements of well-being, PERMA, in my own life. For instance, I've been able to understand how my positive emotions impact how I'm doing, how my engagement and activities actually make so I have better experiences and therefore better well-being, my relationships, my meaning in life, and my accomplishments. Now, out of those, I would say engagement has been the most impactful to me. It was super inspiring learning about engagement because when I was at work, I realized that I could enter a flow state more effectively by kind of going to micro flow states. So I'd put on music and I would always make sure that I was walking to the beat or that I was tapping to the beat, and it made the day go by so much faster, and it made so that I was a lot happier at work. I've also been utilizing the well-being improving activities in this book, which has been extremely helpful. There was one activity called active constructive responding, which essentially means that when you're talking to someone, you should be actively listening, and the response you give should be constructive and reflect that you heard what they said. It has encouraged me to be more mindful. In the book, he talks about the idea of being slow, and by that he means that you should allow your brain time to slow down to more effectively process the fine functions that it has to process. So essentially, you should be more mindful of the experiences you're going through so that you can more effectively and accurately process them and have more creative solutions. He talks a lot about how creativity is very important and how personal strengths are very helpful in achieving your goals and basically in making so that you have more aspects of well-being in your life. Furthermore, and finally, this has allowed me to focus on meaning and accomplishments in my own life. I've been able to focus on how my goals are currently being implemented and actually acted out in my own life. For instance, my goal of graduating from college right now. I'm currently pursuing that goal, and I feel like it gives me meaning and I'm doing really well at it. And I've been able to see how that's important to my well-being and actually prioritize my goals. So overall, this book was very inspiring, and I would want to give it to everyone in my life who means anything to me, because I think it could have a very positive impact on their well-being as well. Which leads me to my next point. Would I recommend this book to others? Absolutely yes. I would definitely recommend this book to other people. This book utilizes empirically based evidence to construct a wonderful narrative about the importance of practicing elements of positive psychology. Essentially, it shows you how research in positive psychology has been used to prove what makes people have higher levels of well-being and what makes people have lower levels of well-being. And then afterwards, it shows you how to implement those strategies in your own life to increase your own well-being. And I found that to be very impactful and very helpful, because not only does it say this is what you can do, but it shows you exactly how. And it gives you stories of how it's been implemented. I found the contents of this novel to be even more engrossing than the other books we've read in this class, such as The How of Happiness, because instead of just talking about happiness activities, it talks about the theory of positive psychology, which is something I love. I love learning. So being able to actually see how it came to be and what it means, how it can be implemented, it was just fantastic to me. So if you're someone who wants to have better well-being in your own life, loves learning, wants to understand more about psychology in any way, or loves positive psychology, I would definitely recommend this book for you. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you.